Hey traders, yesterday we had a really wild market with TQQQ swinging down and then back up. And it's the kind of day where you can make a lot of money if you know how to trade like a pro. In today's video, I'm going to show you exactly how to do that. This is the chart of yesterday's action on TQQQ, October 14th. You can see we had a down opening, and for the first 15 minutes it went lower, 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 and then something happened right here. I guess this was right around 9:50 that affected the price for the rest of the day, and I'm going to show you what that was. Remember that the volatility of TQQQ can work in your favor. And if you learn to trade like the pros do, big profits in a short period of time can be yours. And here's how. Let's take a look at some recent history. On October 10th, that was last Friday, TQQQ dropped about $11, closing at $97.07. Well, in typical fashion, on Monday morning, October 13th, it bounced back and was up about $6 that day, closing at 103.23. That's pretty typical for after you get a huge loss on any one day. But then yesterday, October 14th, TQQQ once again opened lower, this time about $3.50 lower at $99.73. And from there, it fell all the way down to 97.07, which, not so coincidentally, matched the exact closing price from Friday, October 10th. But then, TQQQ began to rally. And here's how you could have made $3,000 in as little as 35 minutes. This is the key right here, trading off the bottom. On October 14th, as I said, TQQQ gapped all the way down, opening $3.50 lower at 99.73. It continues falling over the next 15 minutes or so and touches a low of 97.16 before closing at 97.42. So now we have another candlestick that opens at the same price that the red candlestick closed at, 97.42. Bottoms at 97.07, which is a little bit lower than this red candlestick. But then it starts to move up, surpasses the $97.42 where the red candlestick closed, continues higher, and then ends up closing at 97.72. Now, once the green candlestick surpasses the closing and the opening of the next candlestick, that is the time to consider a buy, because what's happening here is we have support. Support has been found just a little bit above $97. Traders are stepping in to move this higher. And once we get into this next green candlestick, it's all up from there. So the time to buy is when the green candlestick, the first green candlestick that you get on a day when TQQQ opens lower, when that surpasses the closing price of the previous red candlestick, okay, and or its own price where it opened, and starts moving higher, that is the time to get in. You can see what happens next. Within 35 minutes, TQQQ had rallied up $3 to $100.42. That was $3 higher than the closing price on the last red candlestick of the early morning. So the winning strategy on a day when TQQQ opens lower is to wait until you get a bottom where the last red candlestick is surpassed by a green candlestick. Now, the best instances are going to be where you get a double bottom in price between the red and green candlestick. But occasionally the green may go a little bit lower than the red and still recover. That's okay too, as long as you see the recovery and it doesn't continue moving even further to the downside. This shows that we have support and there is a reversal that is starting. Now, you can't just buy a market order on the opening because you really have no idea whether TQQ is going to bounce up off the opening or continue falling. You've got to give it a little bit of time to see what it's going to do. On this day, it fell another $2.66 from the opening price. So let me ask you this. If you had bought exactly at the open, would you have stayed in or would you have gotten out once that started falling another $2 and change? Okay, a lot of people would have sold and missed the big reversal. So it's really important not to jump the gun. Wait to see what the price action is going to do before you get in. So now we're about 35 minutes up past the bottom. The 8-period EMA is moving close to the 20-period SMA, which I've talked about in other videos as being really important when this line crosses above the red line. At this point, we've reached a high of 101.02, almost $4 above the very bottom of 97.07. And after this, TQQQ pulled back to $100.11. But by this time, had you traded where the 97.42 mark was, you would have been well past the $3 per share mark. So, in summary, if you bought 1,000 shares at the moment that the first green candlestick surpassed the closing price of its previous red candlestick, within 35 minutes you would have made $3,000. Now, if you held it a bit longer, within an hour, you would have been up about $4,000. The ultimate high for the day of $103.53 would have been the maximum profit you could have garnered of $6,100 by purchasing 1,000 shares at $97.43. Now, not everybody can purchase 1,000 shares. I understand that. Even if you bought 500 shares, you still could have made about $3,000 if you had held it until the high of the day or somewhere around there. We're never going to catch the exact bottom. We're never going to catch the exact top unless we're really, really lucky. It just happens every once in a while. But these kinds of days happen at least once a week, and you can make a big profit no matter how many shares you're buying if you watch for those kinds of bottoms. Eventually, TQQQ pulled back to close at $101.13 yesterday. But for those who buy the dip and hold, and if you held overnight, TQQQ is up another $3 in the pre-market today. So right now it's trading at well over $104 a share. Congratulations if you were one of those who bought the dip. You did really, really well for one day. That's just incredible. Now, if you like this video, please help support these important videos by liking the video, subscribe to my channel, commenting below on any aspect of the video, sharing this video with others who also trade TQQQ, and sign up for a future Mastering TQQQ trading course. I'll put that link in the description below. Well, this is Ethan Roberts from Mastering TQQQ Trading, saying so long, happy trading, and I'll see you next time.